So owning a property here in Spain is a really satisfying thing to do. It's a great ambition in life to come and live in the sun, especially when you retire, and I think it adds years to people's lives. However, sadly, occasionally people pass on whilst they're still living here in Spain. And the hugely important factor that we as agents ask for, and of course also for the family who are going to perhaps inherit the property, is that there is a Spanish will in operation. And so this week we're going to look at why it's important to have a will, and the information that you need to have a will, and how to go about getting a will. And trust me, the time spent on this video now will save endless heartache potentially in the future if you don't have one. So welcome to this week's episode of 2 Minute Tuesday number 178, where we look at the importance of having a valid Spanish will. So why is it so important to have a Spanish will? Well, the first one is sort of legal compliance. It's dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Obviously, it's an incredibly sad time when somebody passes on, and what you don't want is for that heartache to be increased for your loved ones by your estate not being in order. There are certain requirements with the Spanish legal system and the land registry system, and if you don't have a Spanish will in operation, it often delays the process of sorting everything out here in Spain. It could realistically mean that your inheritance would all have to be sorted in your country of origin first, before then it can be sorted here in Spain. Nobody will allow a property in Spain to be sold if, for example, somebody's going to come along in a couple of years' time and say that they are the rightful inheritor of the property, and it's going to be a problem. You're also going to find that, along with legal compliance, it's having a valid will is also going to eliminate any sort of legal complications that you might have. That everything is laid out, and if it's done professionally by a lawyer and notarized, that all of the heirs and the beneficiaries will have their details in there, and then there can be no arguments at a later date as to whether somebody got their fair share or what have you. It's your final will and testament, and it has your details on it. And also it's just going to make the inheritance process an awful lot easier for everybody concerned. And you know, for the sake of spending some time in a lawyer's office and getting everything down on paper, and then going to a notary office and having the document notarized, it's really worthwhile doing it now. And as I mentioned before, it will save a huge amount of heartbreak and stress and what is going to be a difficult time in any case. Okay, so the sort of key considerations that you should take into account when obtaining your Spanish will. Now, the first one is obviously seek legal advice. This 2 Minute Tuesday is here just to give you the absolute basics of what's there, but really, you know, you have to go and sit down with a professional person, a lawyer preferably, and have them explain everything to you, the ins and outs, sort of to give you a full understanding of Spanish inheritance law, to give you a full understanding how the tax office deal with inheritance, the different applications with regards to who you're leaving the property to and the implications for them. You know, your asset inventory, what items you have, the value of the items, and how you wish them to be dispersed or distributed. And then the final thing is that the will you may do when you're sat down with your lawyer in English, but we're not in England, or it could be Dutch or any of the other languages. It needs to be translated professionally into Spanish, and then, as I mentioned, it needs to be notarized before it becomes an official document. So really it's just going through all of the steps to ensure that everything is buttoned up, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, to make sure that there aren't any problems at a later date. Okay, so hopefully you're not on your last legs as we speak. However, there are some things that you can do now which gets everything in order. So first one I've got down is gather any of the necessary documentation that you'll need. So this is your identification documentation, your Spanish residency status and things like this, and any other papers, and if you have stocks and shares and bank accounts and all the bits and bobs that you could possibly think of, then start getting all of the paperwork in order. Number two, I've got obviously is if you haven't got a lawyer already, then go and find a lawyer. Most lawyers will do wills for you, but go and find a lawyer that speaks your language and is happy to and understands your situation and things like that. Number three is set aside some thinking time, sort of review and revise, I think is how I would term it. And basically what I'm saying here is sort of look at the pot that you have and decide really how you want it to be dispersed. Now obviously if you're just going to leave it to your partner, then it's going to be very simple, but if there's lots of children and children from other marriages and leaving money to the dog shelter or the dog charity, you know, it's important that you get everything sorted. And your lawyer is really your central pin to sort of go to, and they'll answer all of the questions for you. And really you'll find that the will is an indispensable tool at an incredibly difficult time for your family and friends. And as I said before, the time that you spend now will make it an awful lot easier for people when they're dealing with everything after the date. So really, you know, I see as an estate agent, I see we get phone calls from family when they say somebody's passed along and that you know, they'd like us to come along and do a valuation of the property, and we go and do that, and we speak to them about the paperwork. And if they haven't got an active will, it's a long, stressful process for them. If there is a will, it's still quite a process and time taken for everything to fall into order. But realistically, without a will, it can take many months, if not years, to get the paperwork sorted. And I'm sure you don't want that. So get it all in order now, get your paperwork sorted, and I'm sure everything will be fine when the date comes that it would sadly need to be operated, but get it sorted now. That's it for this week's 2 Minute Tuesday. Not the happiest one, but something, it's common sense, and sometimes it's something that, you know, these little things are things that we know that we need to do. You know, it's like painting that whatever it is outside that you never get around to doing it. Well, this is a little bit more important than that. So hopefully it'll be a happier 2 Minute Tuesday for the next one. It'll probably be tax, sadly. However, we look forward to seeing you for the next one. My details will be on the screen at the moment, and if you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to help. So until the next episode, adios.